Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Believe in best.
Tonight on our news, Election Day hires revealed. Officials say some workers have nothing to do. The latest on the Grand Lucayan sale. The F&M chairman urges party members to stop cannibalizing each other. And Alive puts Marco's alert to the test. Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm Christina Dragovich. Topping news tonight, Minister of State for the Public Service Pia Glover-Roll revealing that workers were hired on the day of the September 16th general election and even after the government changed. She also announced a hold on hiring. Bethany McDermott reports.
There has been engagement into the public service on the day of election and even days after election when the government would have obviously been changed. So those in particular we would be looking at to ensure that the proper methodology of engagement was engaged.
State Public Service Minister Pia Glover-Roll made the revelation during this week's press briefing at the Office of the Prime Minister. She said those hires are up for review to ensure the proper procedure was followed. She also revealed that in the last 8 weeks, around 40 individuals on New Providence and the Family Islands were hired but are sitting home collecting salaries because there's simply nowhere to place them.
And that is why we have to have the audit, ensure that we are filling the gaps and building capacity where it's necessary and not just bringing people on to have a job. But there are a few, and as a result, we have to do what is best for the taxpayers' money, and we may have to disengage some of those persons.
She also announced that public sector hires have been halted and are expected to resume by July 2022.
There's a hold on hiring at this time until we make an analysis based on the audit of where we need to build capacity. We can't just hire and not know where to put people. We have to make sure we're placing people in positions that are available and that are necessary to move the public service forward. As you know, we do have a program called the 52-week program that will be relaunched as the Public Service Professional Engagement Program, PSPEP. That will resume into the middle of 2022, where we will continue to take on cohorts of the 52-weekers.
The Minister of State also touched on plans to introduce a contributory pension plan, noting that the current plan cannot take on new hires.
Any new hires going forward when we do commence our hiring process will be considered for a contributory pension, because the sustainability of the pension plan in its current form cannot take on the burden of new pensioners. That process has been, analysis has been going on for a while with that.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Bethany McDermott.
President and CEO of Royal Caribbean International, Michael Bailey, is expressing optimism about RCI's investments in the Bahamas amid strong demand for cruises. That includes getting the Grand Lucayan up and running in the very near future. Jasmine Brown reports.
The Royal Caribbean chief says as far as he is concerned, the company will keep its close ties with the Bahamas, and that means ensuring that its investments succeed, including the ones in Grand Bahama.
Obviously, the pandemic caused a pause because of all the issues we were dealing with. We're still very optimistic about the Freeport project, which is really the Grand Lucayan hotel development, destination development and resort, along with increased investment in the port.
Bailey made the comments on the sidelines of a ceremony to honor disability advocate Erin Brown, who has been named grandmother of Odyssey of the Seas. While he did not give a timeline, he did say this.
We think and we hope that we can bring that alive in the coming years, and we think that's going to be a game changer for Freeport. We're also working on a project at Paradise Island, the Royal Beach Club, and we're very close to finalizing all of the various discussions, etc. We've already created the concept.
The Minister administration purchased the Grand Lucayan Resort from Hong Kong conglomerate Hutchison Whampoa in August 2018 for $65 million and made plans to sell the property to Royal Caribbean and ITM for its redevelopment. But the deal has yet to be finalized more than a year after the heads of agreement was signed. The government had originally pegged early 2021 for the redevelopment to begin, but the COVID-19 pandemic caused delays and changed the terms of the agreement. In September, Former Minister of Tourism Dionisio D. Aguilar said he was disappointed that the Menace administration was not able to conclude the sale of the resort before it was booted out of office. He said the sale continues to be delayed by the protracted wait for Royal Caribbean and ITM to close a separate deal with Freeport Harbor Company.
We have a partnership with some of our competitors in Grand Bahama Shipyard, which of course went through a terrible time during the hurricane, and now we're reinvesting into the shipyard to bring that back alive so it can operate as a regional hub for the cruise industry, and that we think is a really positive thing.
Reporting for our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Well, Free National Movement Chairman Carl Culmer reminding party members that they are one big family, adding they can't continue to cannibalize each other. He made the comments after Central Grand Bahama MP Iram Lewis nominated for party leader ahead of the F&M convention next week. Giorgio Bain reports.
Iram D. Lewis, you are now duly nominated for the position of leader of our great party. Congratulations.
As he officially entered the F&M leadership race today, Lewis said he has already taken steps to unify the party by attempts to mend broken relationships.
We have started already making phone calls, persons who we know did not show up on September 16th for various reasons. Some felt disenfranchised, some felt like they were disrespected, forgotten.
Party chairman Carl Culmer also insisted the internal conflicts must come to an end.
We are one big family. And at the end of the day, our goal is to become government. And at the end of the day, we cannot continue to this cannibalizing of each other.
Pressed on what or who he believed caused those broken relationships in the F&M, the Central Grand Bahama MP said this.
There's no one person that you could pinpoint this on. And I would be very disingenuous if I were to call the name of any one person who caused us to be where we are right now. We acted as a team. Our team dropped the baton in certain instances. We had some self-inflicted wounds.
And Lewis quickly dispelling any rumors that he'll only be holding on as interim leader until an election is called.
This is no interim position that I seek to hold. I am in it for the long haul, and I'm sure that others are in it for the same reason.
Lewis became the second person to officially be nominated as a candidate for leadership. East Grand Bahama MP Kwesi Thompson completed the process on Tuesday. Marco City MP Michael Pintard is scheduled to be nominated on Thursday morning. The F&M's convention committee will host a press conference Thursday afternoon. Reporting for our News, I'm Giorgio Bain.
Well, businesses have until March 12th to decide if they will keep on furloughed workers or make them redundant, according to Press Secretary Clint Watson. Now that emergency orders have expired, restrictions preventing employers from making employees redundant have been lifted.
Under the previous administration, what was given was a 30-day window after the emergency orders would expire for companies to make a decision and a determination as to what they were going to do. Now, that was a 30-day. That'll take us to December 12th. The laws also provide a 90-day window, which takes us to March 12th. What has to happen within that window by March 12th? Companies either have to disengage the persons or call them back to work. That is the law.
Some Atlantis employees have been home since the onset of the pandemic in early 2020. Last month, Labor Director Robert Farquharson said a noticeable number of employers have begun engaging furloughed employees. Today, Watson said there's no record of who is still furloughed.
We still don't. We tried to find out. I spoke to the Minister of Labor, and he said a lot of the record keeping was not kept previously. So we're now trying to determine who's at work, who's not, who's furloughed. There is no record on that.
The Marco Alert is one step closer to being fully functional. Alive conducted a successful test of the system today, giving the National Security Minister confidence that the system will be launched before the end of the month. Jillian Gray has that.
This is Marco's Alert from the Office of the Spouse of the Prime Minister.
Yes! It's an alert system 10 years in the making. Marco's Alert is one step closer to being an actionable tool to combat child abduction after a successful test at Alive headquarters today.
I've been waiting for this for a while, for a long time. I think maybe 7 or 8 years from ever since young Marco Archer was found brutalized and killed. That that did something to all of us, and to me in particular. And to know that he wasn't the first that it happened to, I wanted to see this system in place to stop something like that ever happening again.
After 11-year-old Marco Archer was kidnapped and killed in 2011, legislators enacted a law to allow authorities to send notifications in cases of national emergency. Wife of the Prime Minister, Anne-Marie Davis, says this is a significant step in stopping predators and protecting children.
This is a very significant tool in the fight against violence against children. We had seen recently, I think it was last year, where a number of young boys were kidnapped. We never knew what was happening to them. The whole nation was traumatized by this. We still have cases, I see missing persons report, where juveniles are missing. Sometimes they're found and we don't know what happened.
So it works like this. In cases of emergency, police will have the capacity to send out an alert, but it's more than just a text message. The geomapping technology means that every person within a specific area, even visitors, will get that message.
Here at Alive, we are excited that we have reached a stage where we can actually test it and prove that it actually works. And not just work, but by working, what it does for us as a country, it enables us to be able to protect our children, which is really the national and the treasure for our country.
As it stands today, Alive has the capability to deploy the same message to every site nationally.
The National Security Minister called it a great move and said they're pushing to have the system up and running before the end of the month.
We hope that in very short order we can have a system that captures all cell phones from both providers and that it can be launched as close to the 29th of November, a significant date in the recognition of prevention of violence against women.
Reporting for our News, I'm Jillian Gray.
Thanks, Jillian. Well, some showers around the capital. Greg Thompson has the latest from the Weather Center.
Thanks, Christina. Welcome everybody for your first look at weather on this Wednesday night. Lots of clouds outside our studios. We have some showers and some isolated thunderstorms in the distance, but they're not quite here yet. Temperatures are near the 80-degree mark, 78 outside our studios. East winds at 15 miles per hour, and your feels like temperature in the mid-70s. Taking a look at our satellite view, a lot of tropical moisture moving out of the Caribbean across Cuba and into the Bahamas. That frontal boundary that was hanging across the central Bahamas starting to lift back towards the north. So we will see some increase in shower activity and thunderstorms throughout the night and into tomorrow. That's your first look at weather. Stick with us. Your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on our news, the wife of the Prime Minister weighs in on the marital rape discussion and government seeking to acquire COVID treatments. Find out more after this.
Get that glorious internet connection back in business within seconds with the new self-help modem reset. Just follow these very easy steps. Step 1, call 601-2200 or 242-300-2200. Number 2, select option 3. Step 3, select option 2. Step 4, enter your 8-digit account number. Step 5, follow the prompts. It's really that simple. Rev, you and us together.
In the midst of a debate on marital rape, wife of the Prime Minister Anne-Marie Davis says there needs to be more national discussion on the controversial issue.
I think a national discussion really has to be had on that. Most people feel, many people feel actually, that marital rape doesn't exist. And many people experience it as well. So this is something that we have to really improve on by having more advocacy for it. I think if we have cases come forward that we made more aware that marital rape is happening, and then I think we will have more advocacy for it and we will take it further.
After receiving backlash for saying there are other things on the government's agenda he must focus on rather than the issue, Prime Minister Philip Davis issued a statement condemning marital rape as wrong. Mrs. Davis says she's shocked by the amount of violent acts in recent weeks, including a domestic dispute resulting in a woman being hit by a car on Key West Street. She vowed to be a staunch advocate for women's rights, including calling for tougher legislation and a review of the gender-based violence Violence Bill and Child Regulations Act.
I would advocate by calling on the powers that be to table those bills and have them discussed, debated in Parliament, and passed so that we can increase our laws, and whatever it takes, I'm there to take it a step further and make sure it happens.
The press secretary also called for a national conversation on the matter.
If we want this to become a major discussion and perhaps lead to legislation, then let's build the story around how impactful this is to our country. Not just what government is saying, but what are the people saying? What are victims saying? What are groups saying? What are advocacy groups saying? All of this shapes the conversation.
Meanwhile, Press Secretary Clint Watson revealing the Davis administration is looking to acquire new medication to treat COVID-19 by the end of the year.
We're expecting to have them by the end of the year. That's our target. And we hope that these new medications will be here within that period.
Pfizer and Merck are seeking authorization for use of their COVID-19 antiviral pills. On Tuesday, Pfizer submitted its application to the Food and Drug Administration for emergency authorization, noting the drug reduces hospitalization and death by 89% when administered with a common HIV drug. Though COVID numbers have decreased locally, some fear social activities will ramp up now that the state of emergency has ended. Watson says government is considering bringing on more COVID ambassadors.
Discussions are ongoing to increase the number of COVID ambassadors throughout the country, along with additional training, particularly in light of relaxed curfews and people having more events, to ensure that the guidelines are followed and people enforce the laws. And that's why I stress again to people, it requires personal responsibility.
When our news returns, a group of concerned citizens speak out against a proposed Grand Bahama power rate hike. And in hoops action, Team Bahamas faces off against Canada. The details after this.
Get that glorious internet connection back in business within seconds with the new self-help modem reset. Just follow these very easy steps. Step 1, call 601-2200 or 242-300-2200. Number 2, select option 3. Step 3, select option 2. Step 4, enter your 8-digit account number. Step 5, follow the prompts. It's really that simple. Rev, you and us together.
This is our news. Welcome back. The Coalition for Concerned Citizens is pleading with the Grand Bahama Port Authority not to approve a proposed electricity rate hike by Grand Bahama Power Company, warning it could place further strain on struggling residents impacted by Hurricane Dorian and the pandemic.
The intention of Emera Grand Bahama Power Company is to increase the rates of electricity during the worst time in the history of Grand Bahama. Emera has already reported to their shareholders that they expect to receive an increase in electricity rates. But how is this when the application is pending before the Regulatory Committee of the Grand Bahama Power Company, pending consultation with the public?
Works and Utilities Minister Alfred Sears has said the government opposes the proposed rate adjustment. Grand Bahama Power announced it had filed a rate application with its regulator, the Port Authority. The company said some residential customers would see a drop in rates, others would see no change from today's rates, while others would see proposed increases of various amounts depending on usage.
The economy and the social condition on Grand Bahama is the worst it's ever been. The people are currently burdened with increases in prices in the stores, services, and taxes. The unemployment of Grand Bahama is pegged at someplace close to 50%. In the backdrop of these facts, the company is proposing to increase electricity rates.
Senator Kirkland Russell says Grand Bahamians need help, not a rate hike.
This is absolutely not the time to even be discussing rate hike. We should all be joining hands, joining brains, joining intelligence to work together with the government to see how we can shift the direction of this island. We need to be giving people a hand up, not putting pressure, burden on the backs of the people.
The men's national basketball team has some obstacles to overcome as it goes up against Canada. Marcellus Hall has that tonight in sports.
Thanks and welcome to our sports, everybody. I'm Marcellus Hall. As you can tell behind me, our men's national basketball team about to get back into action. They are headed to the Dominican Republic, where they'll play in a bubble for a 2-game set versus Team Canada. Let's set the stage for you right now. The Bahamas men's national basketball team going through its final set of practices now. The team is set to head to the FIBA Basketball World Cup qualifiers for the Americas beginning on the 25th of next month. The team will head on down to Dominican Republic, where they'll play in a bubble for a 2-game set against Team Canada. They leave on the 25th and return on the 30th of this month. Now, taking a look at the squad, as it is set up right now, the team is hampered by a number of injuries that have shortened what was hopefully going to be a strong roster. Shaquan Lewis will be on the squad along with Dominic Bridgewater, Travis Munnings, Rashad Davis, Cantuan Smith, Michael Carey makes his return, Willis Mackey Jr., Michael Thompson Jr., Mark Sinfort, John Roddy Cadeau, Shaquille Fritz, and David Nesbitt. Now, Nesbitt will be the team captain, and Fritz recently suffered an injury actually taking place last night, so he is listed as out. The head coach will be Moses Johnson, assisted by National Team Hall of Famer, none other than Dexter Cambridge. So again, the team will have a very, very tough task as they head into competition. Looking at what's ahead for them, they'll play the 2 games in the Dominican Republic on back-to-back nights. First game will be against Team Canada on the 28th, followed by the second game the following night on the 29th, with Canada being the home team in that particular one. And that's your look at sports for you here on this Wednesday. I'm Marcellus Hall. Back to you.
Thanks, Marcellus. Still ahead, Greg is back with extended weather. Stay with us.
Get that glorious internet connection back in business within seconds with the new self-help modem reset. Just follow these very easy steps. Step 1, call 601-2200 or 242-300-2200. Number 2, select option 3. Step 3, select option 2. Step 4, enter your 8-digit account number. Step 5, follow the prompts. It's really that simple. Rev, you and us together.
Welcome back to our news. Wet conditions ahead. Greg has the details in the Weather Center.
Thanks again, Christina, and welcome back, everybody, for your second look at weather. We're taking a look at our satellite view, that frontal boundary that was across the central Bahamas, starting to back up towards the north, trapping a lot of moisture across the northwest Bahamas, so cloudy conditions and some showers and isolated thunderstorms in that. The high pressure to the north sliding out eastwards, and that's going to continue to keep us under breezy conditions for at least another day. We are watching a frontal boundary across the central portions of the United States that should get near by the end of the week, and that should trap that moisture before it moves out. So we're looking for some increasing weather, or beautiful weather, for the weekend starting early next week. The tropics quiet at this time, and tropical cyclone formation is not expected over the next 5 days. Small craft caution posted for you boaters out there. We're asking you swimmers to be extra cautious as well. East to southeast winds 15 to 20 knots with some gusts at times. Sea is very rough out there, 4 to 7 feet. Tide is presently high, will be low at 36 minutes past midnight. Here's a look now at your national forecast. A look now at your extended forecast through Wednesday. Some lingering showers in the forecast for the weekend, but we expect some beautiful weather starting next week. Back to you, Christina.
Thanks, Greg, and thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Christina Dragovich. We'll see you right back here tomorrow night. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas.